Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We come to you on this Sunday after another wonderful Sunday display by the Jets and Giants on the Mike Francesa channel, on the Bet Rivers Network, on YouTube. Let's do the one that's quick and painless because there's nothing even to discuss, and that is the Giants today, who facing a first-time quarterback, and you know how bad the numbers are for a quarterback making his debut in the NFL. But remember, he's making his debut against a team that is so bad that it changes all the numbers. The Giants fall to 2-13 on a day where they get outscored by the Falcon defense, 14-7. They turn the ball over 3 times, 2 for scores. They target Neighbors 14 times. He manages to catch 7. I mean, it has really reached a pitiful stage. If a coach was trying to get fired, this is how you would go about it. You would put forth these kinds of displays. They have become so pathetic, so putrid, that really you sit there and say, are we kidding? Now, looking ahead, the Giants play the Colts next week. Now, the Colts, remember, they're going to go back to that play I told you about in Denver, where they should have won that game, where they would have been up 2 touchdowns in the third quarter when Taylor flipped the ball. Today, Taylor obviously wanting to, I guess, show some sorrow and some penance, do some penance, went out there and put on a performance, rushed for well over 200 yards. I think he wound up somewhere around, let me give you exact number, I think it was 218 for the game. He wound up 218 on 29 carries, 3 touchdowns. The Giants are going to face a team next week that is playing to be 500 and still believing maybe there's some way for them to get into the postseason, although it's very much a long shot. I mean, really a very big long shot. I'm not even sure it's even possible anymore after today. But they can still have a winning season because the last week of the year they play the Jaguars. They win today, and they gave up some touchdowns late, but they had a huge lead, 38-7. They rushed for 335 yards. So the Giants are going to face a team next week that this week ran for 335 yards. They're going to do a real good job stopping that team, right? I mean, what else can you say? I mean, there's only 2 weeks left. There's a home game, and then they finish up on the road. That's it. You're hoping to get the number 1 pick. That's still not guaranteed yet. We'll have to see what happens, especially with the Raiders. The Titans are 3 and, have only got 3 wins. So they still are in play here. Jacksonville could fall. Today the Raiders win. You could have both of those teams with 3. So you could have all those teams with 3. If the Raiders win today, you're rooting for the Raiders to win if you're the Giants. But forget that. It was as bad as it could be. Jack, my oldest son, is a big Falcon fan. Has been for the days of Julio Jones. Has been forever. And he said, "What do you think today?" I said, "I think there's a good chance the Atlanta defense will outscore the Giants." They did 2-1. They did 2 touchdowns to 1. So that's how bad it has gotten. Nothing to discuss. Now to the Jets. The Jets came out today, and the first drive was superb. I mean, he was flawless. It was beautiful. They did miss the extra point. What else is new? They score a touchdown against the Rams. They look good early. Rodgers gets off to a good start, okay? This was a very weird game, as you heard McVay say at halftime, because there were no punts. Everybody is moving the ball, but a lot of times they're going out on downs. All right, so only 4 possessions and 3 possessions, and the Jets take the ball in the third quarter, have it for the first 9.5 minutes, and then go on 4th down and don't make it. If you wanted to show how dumb coaching can be, how dumb coaches can be, today again you saw from the Jets, who are, like I said, possibly the worst coach team I have ever seen. You saw it again today. First of all, you're up 6-0. on a day where the wind chill's way down, it's windy, it's inclement. You got a West Coast team playing here. Okay. Now the Rams are dangerous, but they're a West Coast team. The Jets are up 6-0. They have the ball on their own 34-yard line after Hall goes out of bounds short of the first down marker. You are on your own 34, up 6-0. You are the worst short yardage team in the NFL. You are probably the worst fourth down team any of us have ever seen with some talent. The Jets are awful in short yardage. They can't run the ball in short yardage. They can't convert fourth downs. What does he do? He goes on his own 34-yard line against an explosive Ram team. He's up 6-0. What would make you do that? Of course, they don't make it. Rams have a short field. Now it's 6-6. Rams missed the extra point. It's 6-6. Third quarter, they take the ball. They drive it down the field. They're moving the ball all day. Okay? Some drops, a couple of drops again from Lazard. What else is new? A couple of drops here and there. They have a 3rd and long. They get 12 back. I think they had a 3rd and 16. They get 12 back. Now it's 4th and 4. It's 6-6. Kick the field goal. You just kept the ball for 9 minutes. Kick the field goal. Take the lead. What? No, we're going on 4th down. Incomplete. Don't score any points. Okay. And then the coup de grace. You are down 9 points. Okay. You were down late. You were down, down 10 points. You're down 19-9. You need 2 scores. You try to get the first down. You fall short. Okay. You ran the snap with 2:34 left. You still have the 2-minute warning and 3 timeouts. What do? You sit there on the sideline and look like complete fools. That's what you do. Your quarterback looks over and says, "You want a timeout, right? You want a timeout, right?" As the clock is ticking down, and you see Aaron Rodgers just shaking his head. Okay? As what do they get? A penalty. And then miss the 49-yard field goal. What? This is not that hard. Their situational football is so bad. You know what? Listen, the interim head coach might be this really nice guy. He might even be a decent defensive coach. I don't know that. I don't think he's anything great. I think the best defensive coach clearly left the room when Salah left. Their defense has never been the same. They've had injuries too. And they let some run stoppers leave, which was really a categorical mistake. There's no question about it. But he hasn't even shown that he can run the defense without Salah. As far as an interim coach, their situational decision-making has been the worst I have ever seen. They have outright lost games. We know what they've done with their kicking game all year. Missed field goals, cost them games. Miss extra points. We all know what's going on there. But the outrageously inept leadership of this team, it is the worst coach team. I mean, Lily, guys, 2 games, get out of the building, please. Don't let the doors hit you on the way out. I wouldn't hire any of them for anything. I mean, that's the worst coaching staff I've ever seen. What are they doing? They can't make a right decision ever. And what were they doing there? They had no idea what they wanted to do. Oh, they go on 4th down because that's what they do. Well, who told them that it was right to go on every 4th down? What do you think? You got the Lion team here with the Lion offensive line? You don't. And they're not always right doing it. And they got the greatest offensive line in the world. And the best offensive lineman in the league, their right tackle. And their best offensive line in the league. And skill everywhere. I mean, this is just pitiful. You know how many games that they have let slip away by just terrible decision making? This was a game again today where I look at the end of the game and I guarantee you, they turned the ball over once on the Aaron Rodgers fumble. Okay, the fumble was costly, no question. Okay. The lineman had it. He let it get away. Aaron dropped it. All right. In his last 5 games, he's had 9 touchdown passes, 1 intercept. That fumble was costly, though, no question. Looked like he was going to get hurt on the play. All right. We know that. But the bottom line is, in the game today, they outgained the Rams 321 to 242 and lost 19-9. Now, the turnover was crucial, no question. It hurt. They turned it over twice. I don't care about the late turnover on the muff. They turned it over in a big spot. Stafford turned it over once earlier in the game on an interception. Okay, it was a weird game because you figure in a game like that where you don't have teams putting up 500 yards of offense, you expect punts. It was long drives that petered out. You didn't even get 20 points in this game, but you didn't get any punts in this game. It was a strange game, a very strange game from that standpoint. Again, I have watched this team all year lose games where they were absolutely every bit from scrimmage the equal of the other team or better. They cannot play on 4th down. They cannot play in close situations, and they don't know what they are doing, and their kicking game has killed them. Now, as I've said all along, and I don't know what's going to happen with Rodgers. I don't know. And I don't care about Rodgers, whether he's a narcissist, whether he has strange idiosyncrasies. I don't care about his personality. I don't care what he says on the radio. I don't care about any of that. What I'm telling you is this team has talent. And if they brought him back under a real coaching staff and real positional coaches, people who know what they are doing, this team could have a good year next year. I would absolutely utilize my first pick on a future quarterback if I liked one. If I liked one in the second round, if I didn't like one in the first round where I'm picking, okay, I would take a young quarterback. They need to develop one. But I would bring Rodgers back. And like I've said, anybody who has paid attention, you are not going to get quarterback play better than this guy. His last 4 games going into today, and today was a weird game. The last 4 games going into today was 68% completion. They were averaging 27 points a game, 8 touchdowns, 1 intercept, and 2 drop touchdowns. So it should have been 10 touchdowns and 1 intercept. Now in the 5 games, he's had 9 touchdowns and 1 intercept. Today they didn't score. They had long drives. They didn't score. I mean, he connected with guys. It was a weird day from a standpoint of the kicking game being hampered. The weather, we know that. 28 of 42 for 256. It got away from him late, no question. He had Adams in the end zone on a ball. I thought Adams should have caught. He was going to put it away, and the guy knocked it out of his hands. That would have been a second touchdown. He can still play the position at a good level, not a superstar level anymore, but a good level, especially behind a good offensive line. Now, the kid from Penn State who has stepped in and played well at left tackle got hurt today, hopefully not that badly. They carted him off. I hope that was precautionary. He's got a future. There's no question. They drafted him high. He's got a future, and he stepped in at left tackle and played well. They have a guard this year who ranks very high. They have the makings of an offensive line. They need coaching. Their running game needs coaching. Their whole team needs coaching. Their kicking game needs coaching. Their special teams need coaching. And their situational coaching is a -5. It isn't even a 0. It's a -5. It's the worst I've ever seen. And I'm just tired of looking at it. Just tired of looking at it. And all you got to do today is look at the play. Okay? There is 2:34 left at 19-9. All right, how they got to 19-9, we know what happened. We know what happened with Rodgers. We understand that. We know what happened, okay? We know exactly what went on at the end of the game. We know about the fumble, that he fumbled when he got hit. All right? The bottom line is there is 3rd and 8, Ram 30, 2:34 left. He throws the ball across the middle. Wilson struggling to try and get somewhere. He's 4th and 4. The clock is running. He snap it at 2:02. They had 3 timeouts, and you had the 2-minute warning. What were you doing? They were so confused. They wind up getting a false start at 2:02. You saw Rodgers just shake his head in total disdain, saying, probably thinking, what are these idiots thinking over there? Just should have taken command, but I understand what he's doing. He's waiting for a signal over there. One time he gets the false start where he's sitting there waiting for the play, and he's banging on his helmet telling you to wait for the play. Their communications, their situational football is so unbelievably inept. It's hard to compete. They can't compete because of it. It's so sad. They have lost 7, 8. There's only been 2 games where they were out of this year. The Niner game and the Arizona game. That's it. That's it. And they've won 4 games. I mean, it's just absolutely pitiful. They're 4-11. They have been out of 2 games. All right, a couple things about the league. Then I want to get to a couple things on the college football playoff, and then I want to get to the passing, which stunned me, of Rickey Henderson. Chiefs lock up number 1 yesterday. How do they play this? They can play this any way you want. Now, they have a long time to their first playoff game. I doubt Andy's going to rest everybody all the way through. Would you play Mahomes? Although he moved well yesterday and the ankle sprain doesn't seem to be as bad as they thought it was going to be, would you play him on Christmas Day against the Steelers in Pittsburgh? You don't have to. Do you not play him there, then play him against Denver at home a week later? Do you not play him either game? Probably. I doubt he'll sit his key guys that long, because then they have a week off before they play again. So that means they would have a long time off there. You worry about them being stale. They'd be off a long time. I think too long. He could sit some people game in the Steel game, or he could play the Steel game full out, then give him 2 good weeks off. We'll see how Andy plays it. He can play it any way he wants. Play it any way he wants. Hurts sits the rest of the game today with a concussion. Obviously, he'll be in the protocol. We don't know the extent of the injury. The game was still going on. The Commanders, I see, just scored. Take the lead with 6 seconds left. Daniels, who has had a tremendous day, 5 touchdown passes, is going to beat the Eagles. Barkley had another big game. We don't know the extent of Hurts' injury with the concussion. We'll see how that impacts things going forward. Now, college football. I told you last week I thought all 4 home favorites would win decisively. I didn't think any of the games would be. I thought Notre Dame, I picked the 27-17, which is what it turned out to be. It really wasn't 27-17. They scored twice in the last couple of minutes, including after an onside kick. So they got the 2 cheap touchdowns after not scoring. It was 27-3, and it ended up 27-17. It wasn't that close. Penn State routed with their defense, and then their offense kicked in the second half. Texas did enough, win by 2 touchdowns, and then Ohio State rolled over Tennessee. All expected. I expected every bit of it. Now you have Texas heavy against Arizona State on a neutral field. You have Penn State 11-point favorite over Boise and the great running back on a neutral field. You have 2 very interesting games. Ohio State and top-ranked Oregon. Notre Dame, a 1.5-point underdog to Georgia, which is hurting a quarterback. Fascinating games. Wonderful games. 1 on New Year's Eve, 3 on New Year's Day. The Notre Dame-Georgia game New Year's night is going to do a phenomenal rating. I haven't seen the overnight or the early rating on the Notre Dame game. I'm sure it was enormous. The afternoon games were against the NFL. That matters. They were standalone last night, but Ohio State was up 21-0 in the first quarter against Tennessee. And Tennessee doesn't bring a lot, it's SEC, but still doesn't bring enormous markets. So you have 2 games where the favorite's supposed to win. Texas is supposed to win against Arizona State. I think Arizona State is better than people think. Boise played a soft schedule, played a very close game against Oregon. And the kid got 200 yards rushing against Oregon. The dogs there are going to give much better games than the guys did this weekend. Don't think just because those teams all routed that I just roll with Texas, roll with Penn State. Don't believe that. Those dogs this weekend are going to be much more dangerous. It's neutral fields, number 1, and they're both Arizona State's red hot, and Boise is the classic underdog with a back who is looking to prove how good he is. Looking to prove he's one of those great, great running backs. That's a fascinating game from that standpoint. And then you have Ohio State, Oregon. They already played this year. They played as tight a game as you could play. Oregon won. And now then you have, I think, an incredible game with Georgia and Notre Dame. And I think Notre Dame has a great chance to win that game. In fact, I think Notre Dame, as I told you before this thing started, I thought Notre Dame had a chance to win it all. I thought Notre Dame, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas could win it all. I did not think Penn State could win it all. I did not think anybody else could win it all. I thought those teams could win it all. There were 5 teams that could win it all. Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas. I still think that. That's not going out on a limb right now, obviously, but that's what I thought going in. I still think that. I think Notre Dame is we know they have not played well in these games. This Georgia team is not as good as the Georgia teams that won championships. And they're hurting a quarterback now. And Notre Dame's defense is real, and their running game is real. So I think Notre Dame has a really good chance to win this game. And I think their fans will travel well. So I think this will be a fascinating game. I really do. I really think it'll be fascinating. And I think it'll be a great, great couple of days. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, great football. See, the other bowls are just impossible now because of how limited they are with so many players not available. I mean, you have to check everything. Is the coach there? Is the coordinators there? How many players are in the portal? How many players aren't playing? How many guys opted out for the NFL? I mean, it's almost like you don't even want to be bothered. You don't get that in these championship games. Now, to the passing of Mon sent me a thing the other day. Look at this. I was like, what? I didn't know. I don't know if Rickey was sick. I don't know if this was something sudden. Said that he passed from a serious bout with pneumonia. I don't know if this was somehow COVID related or something that started that. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I mean, he was only 65 years old. I mean, that's someone I saw play his whole career. See, when the players start to pass now, like Richie Allen or Dick Allen for you folks, okay? I still think Richie Allen. He was Richie Allen for many years before he became Dick Allen. Um, Rickey Henderson, guys like this. I mean, you get the tragic ones like Catfish Hunter. That's different. But to see these guys start to pass away who you saw break in, this is not Mickey Mantle or, Willie Mays or someone that was already a giant when I was a little kid. These are the guys. I mean, I saw these guys break in. And I said this the other day. And obviously, I was around Rickey a bunch of times, and Rickey was different. All right, Rickey, he was just really different. There's no other way to say it. He was, a character of epic proportions, but he also was a talent of epic, epic ability. Um, if you go back to those Yankee fans, if you're a Yankee fan and you remember those days when Rickey was in the lineup with Donnie Baseball, Winfield, and Jack Clark, and the Yankees had a great lineup, but they didn't pitch well enough, and they couldn't get. It wasn't a wild card, and they finished second a lot. Won a lot of games, but couldn't win, couldn't break through. Rickey Henderson put on some leadoff displays that were just unbelievable. I mean, the year he scored 146 runs, I swear every time Donnie came up in the first inning, Rickey was on third. So even if Donnie hit a sac fly or a ground ball, he was getting an RBI. Forget if he got a hit or hit one of his, typical doubles or, hit one into the seats and right. He was getting RBIs by hitting the ball on the ground or hitting, 300-foot fly out. You saw it most in the postseason at the top of his game. Rickey could completely dominate the game. I'm not going to tell you that he didn't lose interest at different times. I'm not going to tell you that there weren't times where you wondered if Rickey's head was in the game or not. There were days like that. But when he was on his game and the team was in a big spot or they were in a pennant race or they were in a playoff game and he was on his game, he was, without question, one of the couple most dominant offensive players I have ever seen. He wasn't a 300 hitter, but you know what? He walked a ton. He'd get on base over 40% of the time. And when he got on base, he knew what to do. He could completely destroy the pitcher from first base. But he also could beat you with the home run and beat you with the big hit. And he was a phenomenal player. I mean, you look at some of the years that Rickey had. I mean, you're talking about a guy, and his life was so odd. Like, who has a career like Rickey, and then goes and plays in the minors when his career's over? Because that's Rickey. Had some things he still wanted to finish. That's Rickey Henderson. I mean, he was bizarre in some ways, but he also was the most gifted leadoff hitter probably in the history of baseball. Forget stolen base king, because stolen bases is a very odd stat. You can steal a lot of bases, but remember, this is a guy This is a guy who played 25 years. This is a guy who scored 295 runs. This guy had 3,000 hits, 500 doubles, 300 homers, 297 to be exact, 1,400 stolen bases. I mean, look at these years. Look at this run scored. And the game is about runs scored, folks. The idea is to get home. 119, 119, 105, 113, 146, 130, 118, 113, 119, 115, 105, 114. 2,295 runs scored. Stolen bases, 100, 130, 108, 66, 80, 87, 93, 77. Lifetime on base percentage, 401. 280 hitter. Hit his. I don't know if Rickey ever hit 30 home runs in a year. I don't think he did. 24, 28, 28, 21. But he could hit home runs. And when you get to him, I mean, when he was in the big spot, he was, I mean, just amazing. Just absolutely, absolutely amazing. I mean, as good as you could possibly be. Everyone points back to that year where he scored 146 runs and played 143 games for the Yankees, 1985. Scored 146 runs in 143 games. Almost unfathomable. There were very few players that were as gifted as Rickey Henderson. And talk about unique. First of all, unique in that, there are very few players who throw left and bat right. That is extremely rare in baseball. Position players who throw left and bat right are very rare. There are not a lot of them. And you're talking about a right-handed hitter who was a 400 on base percentage guy. And was that kind of lethal at the guy at the top of the lineup. Scoring those kind of runs. Think about it. I mean, think about what he did every year. He was a machine. You could count on 115, 120 runs scored every single year. Remarkable career. Like I said, if you want to call him the best leadoff hitter of all time, go ahead. I'm not going to argue. Gone at 65. His place in baseball history, etched in stone. Rickey Henderson will be remembered for as long as they play the game. That's how special his talent was. We'll see you later.